Hey everyone, Dr. Anna Cabeca here. I am here to talk to all of you about a little bit about what's going on with the coronavirus and update you so that you can be even more prepared. In my blog that I released today, I talked about the way we can prevent our how we can prep our immune system. What are the things that we can do to really support us? Oops. Blog. Here we go. And I showed you a great recipe, my lemon ginger zinger. Means some ingredients that really can make a difference in boosting your immune system. Certainly lemon juice, citrus, ginger, all of that's really, really powerful, and gave you some examples of cold versus flu versus coronavirus. These are all on my website at dranna.com. But what I wanted to share, and I haven't written about this yet, but I wanted to share and get your feedback because during this coronavirus pandemic, what we are seeing is a lot of fear and uncertainty. And we all are on board to do everything we can for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for our friends, for those that we love and those that we surround ourselves with. And we want to do the best. So I wanted to share a couple stories, and I really have been thinking about this a lot as we face the stress and the trauma. And I want to share with you a story that stems from my residency program. When I was in residency, actually as a medical student, I was at UMDNJ in New Jersey doing rotations on internal medicine before I did my obstetric rotations. And there was a man with acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, what we're seeing a lot of people with the coronavirus on, what they're struggling with the coronavirus, acute respiratory distress syndrome. So ARDS, and it's devastating. And we know that from the people over 50 that get ARDS, there's a 40% death rate right now. So I really feel compelled to share this story. Here I was in as a medical student rotating through the ICU, and there was an 82-year-old man who had ARDS, and the doc said, we expected him to be dead a week ago, but his family comes in and they pray every visiting hours. They pray, they read from the Bible. They're there, they talk, they tell stories, they laugh, they interact. They always include him, even though he's on a ventilator. He's been totally unresponsive for a week. And every day you're on a vent, it becomes harder and harder to get you off the vent, and especially at 82 years old. And the doctors had already said, look, there's no chance. We've, recommended end of life measures for him. But every day his family came in and they prayed and they played, they laughed, and they told stories. And do you know, within the next week, that man was able to leave the ICU walking and breathing on his own. They were able to extubate him, and he walked out of there against all odds. So that's the power of oxytocin, love, and faith for sure. Now, I want to contrast this story because it touched me a lot. I want to contrast the story with a young man, 27-year-old male who had HIV and additional infections, including cytomegalovirus. And I was at Emory University. This must have been 1999. I was an intern, and we do medicine rotations. So that's why an OBGYN would be rotating on a man, okay? And so so I went in to see him his first time, and he was just so sick. And I looked at his chart, and I asked the nurses, his numbers aren't that bad. Why is he, he's like on his way out? And they said, absolutely, he is. And I talked with him. I worked to cheer him up. I was a brand new resident, and I had trained in osteopathic institutions. So I instituted nutrition, some manipulation, other things that we could do to really help him and encourage him, and just talked with him. And I realized, and he told me that hadn't talked to his parents in 4 years. They didn't approve of his lifestyle. And they had written him off. I said, do they know you're in the hospital? Because I tried calling them. I said, would you like me to? And so I called this young man's family, and I spoke with them, and he had one conversation with them, and it picked him up. And then I was excited. I'm like, well, he'll be able to go home and do well. And I rotated off because I found I was pregnant, and very dangerous to be around CMV virus when you're pregnant. And so, of course, I had that fear to work through, like maybe some of you as you're approaching this as well. Well, I rotated off, but I came back 2 weeks later and visited him, and he wasn't there. He passed away. He died. And he hadn't had a single visitor come to see him. His parents never came to see him. And the nurses said, yeah, he pretty much died of loneliness. So for me, this message that I want to share, that I want to write about, that touch upon, that certainly love is medicine. Right now, we're exposed to fear and uncertainty, and I get that. I was pregnant and exposed to cytomegalovirus. All right, now that's 23 years ago now, 23, 24 years ago, 24 years ago now. So I mean, I understand fear. So the concepts that I really want to emphasize is that we have to control what we can control and compartmentalize the thoughts that are approaching us throughout the day that we're struggling with, like what if this, what if that. And um and it's challenging. I have a daughter who just, I flew her back from Holland. Luckily we were able to get her in from the Netherlands, and she came in Sunday night, so she's quarantined at one side of my house. I can't hug her. And that's pretty challenging. So we do what we can do, and do it with grace, do it with laughter, do it with fun, focusing on family, and support our immune system the best we can. Definitely vitamin D as it's coming through my window. And I did probably do a little bit too much vitamin D on Sunday. Got a lot of sun exposure. And so, like out first of the year, and it's a little bit too much too soon. So be a little bit smarter than me and in your sun exposure for vitamin D, but definitely optimize your vitamin D. Can't argue with that. And vitamin C, zinc, selenium, a multivitamin and minerals, and get keto green. I can't say that enough, right? Intermittent fast, 16 hours between dinner and breakfast. Support your immune system, become insulin sensitive, add in those alkalinizers. It's more important than ever to check your urine pH. We'll be doing some challenges in my keto green community on Facebook. So definitely come in there, because we can do this together as community. So my story is all to tell you that love is really the most healing thing, and we can get caught up in fear. And if we think of fear on one end and love on another as a continuum, fear all the way over here, love all the way over here, think how our thoughts are going. Are we thinking based on fear or based on love? The power of oxytocin is so huge. The power of oxytocin is so huge. Think of that patient that I had, that 82-year-old man on a ventilator for weeks with ARDS. He came through it against all odds because he was loved, without a doubt, because he was loved. And then my poor HIV patient with other chronic infections, I mean, he didn't come through. He was alone and lonely. So inviting conversations, creating social atmosphere in, a social context like we are right here. Even we got to reach out on a personal level, pick up the phone, do some video chatting, watch a virtual movie together, do some fun activities, have a glass of wine with me. I know, like y'all, I mean, like, who doesn't want to stress eat right now? I just want wine and chocolate day in, day out. I mean, do you? I mean, I know I do, but trying to optimize my keto green status, because insulin sensitivity, manage cortisol, empower oxytocin. Always talk about that. Join me on my blog, dranna.com. Read my blog today about supporting our body during this time, and share with me your questions. I'm here for you. I'm here for each and every one of you. And sending love and oxytocin, lots of virtual hugs and kisses. Thanks for being in my community.